Dr. Frank O. Moxley. Frank Moxley, in 1958, became the first African American to graduate from Western Kentucky University with a master's degree in psychology and guidance. Dr. Moxley earned his doctorate in psychology from East Coast University and the National Christian University. He spent a long and successful career as an educator and as a coach, and he was the first guidance counselor in the state of Kentucky. An innovator in yet other ways, Dr. Moxley formed the first Negro Athletic League in Kentucky and the Southern Negro Athletic Conference, and he helped establish Cumberland Trace Legal Services in Bowling Green. A pioneer and a distinguished graduate of this outstanding university, Dr. Frank O. Moxley.
Dr. Frank Moxley is a man of firsts. He was the first African American to earn a master's degree at Western Kentucky University. He was the first guidance counselor in Kentucky. He started the Negro Athletic League in Kentucky and also formed the Southern Negro Athletic Conference. Moxley's mother told him long ago that education is a must, and it didn't take him long to figure that without it, nothing would be possible.
She had one thing she swore to it. All my children are going to go to college. She had 6 children. All 6 of us went to college. 5 of us finished college. 2 of us got doctor's degrees.
Western's Dean of Student Life, Howard Bailey, says his friend and mentor deserves entrance into the Hall of Distinguished Alumni.
I was extremely excited and found that to be just a very neat thing to see an individual that has done so much for the community, the state, and Western Kentucky University in particular. I was glad that we were recognizing him.
His friendship with Moxley goes back to his freshman year at Western, 1966.
There were very few support units in place for the new entourage of African Americans that hit Western's campus. And Dr. Moxley, as a community leader, saw that there were going to be needs from that group of students that the university was not likely to be able to deal with. So he came upon our campus and invited many of us to church and explained the community atmosphere to us.
And he says it didn't take long for that friendship to flourish.
By my sophomore year, he had me very intrigued and interested in becoming a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And he worked with a small group of students here on campus to become a student organization. Even though we were not a fraternity, he assisted us in filing for the procedures and assisted us in becoming the first African American student organization, which was called the KQ Club, that later became Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
Dr. Moxley's higher education started at Wilberforce University in Ohio. He graced the graduate programs at Indiana, Indiana State, and Ohio State before he came back to Bowling Green and started at Western in 1956.
T.C. Cherry, Dr. Cherry, Hardin Cherry's brother, was superintendent of schools in Bowling Green. He knew me, and he wrote me a long letter and sold me on the idea that I didn't need to go to this job I had out in West Virginia, but I ought to come back to Bowling Green and help keep the Bowling Green people, there. So I came back to Bowling Green. And I'm still here, although I have had a lot of opportunities and worked other places.
Before his northern ventures, Moxley spent 24 years as a teacher and assistant coach at State Street High School. He then worked as a counselor and basketball coach at High Street School for 10 years and 1 year at Bowling Green High. He also taught education on the Hill and helped the legendary E.A. Diddle recruit basketball players. But education is his life.
I enjoyed that more than the sports. I enjoyed the sports, but I mean, that was something I could see what was happening and see it being what I was achieving.
Bailey says the mark Moxley left on Western's Hill will never be erased.
The foundation that he laid for many of us to come after him is there in place, yet I would not say that most of our African American students would know him, but they are reaping the benefits from his wisdom.
Well, I don't see how a person could enjoy life without education.
1998 Hall of Distinguished Alumni honoree, Dr. Frank Moxley.
I'm very, very happy to be here, but I need a little rest, so I'm going to ask all of my family to stand up. They're from all parts of the country, from Seattle, Washington, to New York. I'm going to say a few words, although if I get to talking about this, I can talk from now on because so much has happened. And actually, I'm talking about a longer period of time than anybody else. That's right. I finished school here in the city school in 1926. So I have a whole lot more to talk about, a whole lot more. I've seen a lot more than a lot of people. But I'm really happy to be here today, happy to see you, and happy to be able to share some of my ideas and some things with you. Actually, when I say I'm happy, some people say they're happy, and just to say it, I'm saying I'm really happy. And I'm happy to meet each of you and to look out and see your faces, because a lot of you have crossed my path and I've crossed your path in these many years. And a lot of you, I was thinking as we were sitting there, we worked in politics, we worked in the city government, we worked in programs, and there you are. So actually when they came to me for some information, I looked in for visas that you send off when you're looking for a job. And then I looked at, and I said, well, this ain't right, because wasn't anything written in there for the last 12 years. So I told my wife, I said, I haven't done anything for 12 years. But the truth of it is I've been doing the same things I hadn't been doing, but I hadn't been looking for a job. I'm proud of Bowling Green, I'm proud of Western, and I'm much more than anybody can realize proud of a lot of the people there. I want to relate one thing. I knew Dr. Cherry and his brother, T.C. Cherry. T.C. Cherry wrote me a letter while I was at Ohio State, and he told me, he said, we need Bowling Green boys to come back here. And I would appreciate if you'd come back here. And I already had signed to go to West Virginia for a job. So I came back, and I've been here ever since. And I'm not glad that I'm glad that I did come back, because I've been very happy and very pleased with the cooperation I get in the community, the things that I've been allowed to do, and so forth. I knew a lot of people that some of you didn't know. I knew, like I said, I knew Dr. Cherry, Kelly Thompson, Ed Diddle, and Jimmy Fikes, and Nero Downer, and a lot of others. We all had some type of experiences together, if it wasn't anything but trying to get rid of Jonesville. I wonder whether many of you know where Jonesville it was. I worked with, and a number of other things. It was a pleasure to me when I finally did get on the campus here, and I'll explain to you why. I drove to Indiana for extension work from Indiana University for 3 years. Get up in the morning at about 2 o'clock and drive to Indianapolis for a class. And let me tell you men something. There was no 65, it was I-31, 31W. And I'm glad that I did. I went to New Albany for class sometime, and sometime went to Evansville. Now, why was I doing that? I could not enroll in Western or Kentucky because the Myers bill, which kept blacks from enrolling in the two schools. Now, later on, after Western opened, I came back and I had the opportunity to think about it. And I found out that the state had to pay for me to go to Indiana University. And I remember saying that to one class when I was here, and they said, well, you went to a better school. Well, Indiana may have been better at that time, but later on we found that Indiana is not any better than that. There's a lot of things I could relate about my experiences on the campus. The first time I came on the campus, my principal told me, said, don't sit in the back, sit up front. Well, it wasn't the way I could cooperate with other blacks, because there wasn't two of us there. But they said, don't get with other blacks. Another thing was that that was the year that the state took it onto themselves to tell all the superintendents in the small schools around here you had to get a degree in counseling and guidance, I think in psychology or something. Because I ended up in a class with all the superintendents. The first week, everything went smooth. I'm up front. The second week, another guy comes and sits by me. By the third or fourth week, there's 3 or 4 of them sitting by me, and they stopped and talking after class. Then later on, before we finished the class, I was writing term papers for them and telling them where to get teachers. I've been very happy with other experiences that came about because of Western. The state came around, there was no guidance, and they were trying to find out how to get it started. So they selected me to spend 2 years in Western Kentucky showing people what they could do and explaining guidance. And in other words, getting guidance started in Western Kentucky in the high schools, which I did. Later on, that allowed me to work with the state in writing the elementary guidance program, which is in effect now. And I enjoyed that kind of work. But I enjoyed the work in guidance here at Western because they were the best program in the state. And it was really a pleasure to work with the people that came in for work. Now, I told my wife if I got to talking, I could talk too much. I done forgot about this thing here. Because so much has happened. And it's made me feel so good to know that I was a part of the many good things that happened here at Western. And that I knew a lot of the people that helped make Western the school it is. I'm going to stop there because I could keep talking. And I appreciate being here. And I want to say this. My family all appreciate it. And just think about it. Here's one, I stay up 2 o'clock in the morning. Here's one person, my family coming from Seattle, Washington. Another one comes from New Jersey. And they feel happy about being here. So I'm happy to be here too. And I thank you, and I want to thank Western for everything that's been in my life, experience in my life. Thank you.
Our next recipient